Hearty welcome to my travel videos. We are traveling in Vienna. In the previous video, I had talked about the parliament in Vienna as well as the Hofburg Palace and the City Hall. And now we are going to see about the Opera House, which is very famous in Vienna. It has hosted many of the world's most prominent composers, conductors, soloists and dancers, etc., are one of the world's largest and famous monuments in Vienna. At least 300 times a year, opera and ballet performances are performed here. It was built in 1869 in Neo-Renaissance style. It can hold inside 2,211 people as audience and 110 musicians at a time, it seems, and it's also the house for Philharmonic Orchestra. It is called in German as Staatsoper, that is a state opera house. It enjoys an international reputation and also it is as great as Milan's La Scala or the Paris Opera House. Actually, Vienna is called the city of music because of its musical legacy, as many famous classical musicians such as Beethoven and Mozart, they called it as their home. They called Vienna as their home. And it's also called the city of dreams because it is the home of the world's first psychoanalyst, Sigmund Freud. This opera house is steeped in tradition. At the same time, it is alive in the present with richly varied performances. Each season, the schedule features up to 350 performances of more than 60 different operas and ballets, it seems. What you are seeing above is the statue of Mozart, who was the one who inaugurated this with his music. In 1869, it was called Don Giovanni. At that time, the Empress Elizabeth called Sisi and the Emperor Franz Joseph were present. Beethoven lived in the center of Vienna between 1804 to 1815 and he worked here on this opera house on fiddles and on the piano pieces called Forilis. We just saw the opera house from outside because going inside will cost us a lot of money. What we heard was the cost of one ticket is 385 euros, but it is worth giving, that's what we heard. This opera house is known especially of works by Richard Wagner, Mozart and Richard Strauss. Our tour guide was often mentioning the name of Zubin Mehta, who has given many performances here. From Tamil Nadu, I can proudly say one Ilayaraja, who is a famous music composer, as well as A.R. Rahman, they have also gone there. And Ilayaraja had taken part in the Austrian Philharmonic Orchestra. While driving towards the Schonbrunn Palace, our tour guide gave an introduction about the Empress Maria Theresa.
But the Habsburgs made so much, not just for Vienna, not just for music. Anyway, the Habsburgs made is talking a lot about this family, especially about Maria Theresia and the Francis Joseph or Franz Joseph original. On the left side you can see the Palace of Schonbrunn. The main palace in the background is park around 2 kilometers long, beautiful park for recreation. On the right side of the park is the oldest zoo in the world.
Understood that we are nearing
the zoo
the
was
famous
founded in the middle of the 18th century.
And this was a residence from the 18th century till 1918 of the Habsburg emperors. It was designed by architects Johann Bernhard and Fischer von Erlasch and also Nicholas Picasso, and it's full of outstanding examples of decorative art. And also it has got huge gardens and the site of world's first zoo. It is a most impressive and well preserved Baroque ensemble in Europe. And we cannot separate the gardens from the palace because they form an organic extension of the palace. Earlier it was a small hunting lodge, it seems, and later on a summer residence of the Habsburg family. Then it was rebuilt after it was totally destroyed during the Turkish attack in 1683. It was one of the most important and perfect of the capital as well as the residency of the Habsburg dynasty. Actually, the original intention was to pay homage to nature and then to glorify the house of the Habsburg. And it is the Baroque princely residential ensemble, a masterly fusion of many art forms. Actually, we were not allowed to take photographs inside, and so I have taken some pictures from the internet because our tour manager told us not to take the cell phone out. You can see the beautiful banquet halls, bedrooms, and the music rooms, and the children room everywhere. And here, Empress Maria Theresa, she lived here and she got 16 children. And one of her children, Franz Joseph I, was born here and he also died here, it seems. The room where he was born is called as a birth room. He died in the same palace at the age of 86. Every room was filled with artistic pieces and it showed the taste of the Empress Maria Theresa. She was like a mother to her subjects, but she was very strict that everybody should have physical as well as mental discipline and they should have fear of God. The same thing she wanted in her own family, her children as well as her subjects in court everywhere. That is why she was able to rule the country very successfully. She was the daughter of the Roman emperor, and when she was a small little child, she was exposed to politics as she was in the discussions with Prussia, etc., with her father. It is very interesting to know that one of her daughters, that is the youngest daughter, was Marie Antoinette, who was the queen of Louis XVI, who was executed at the time of French Revolution. And her famous sentence was, if the people don't have the bread, let them have cakes. For that audacity, she was also guillotined, as we all know in history. So the mother was very much attached to the people and she gave a very good governance, and it is very sad to hear about the daughter who uttered such careless sentences. And in one of the rooms we heard that the little Mozart at the age of 6, he gave his performance to the Empress Maria Theresa and the family members. Every room is kept as it was before. Everything is very well maintained, even the roof, all of them, it looked fantastic and masterpieces of art. In the year 1918, this building became the property of the Austrian government. The traditional 18th century techniques were still followed even in trimming the trees and bushes in the garden. The areas which are adjacent to this property has been designated as a protection zone, and there are so many regulations for building there. And after we came out of the palace, this was a garden, huge garden, and since it is summer time, the plants are not fully covering the area, the arch-like thing, whereas in the spring season, I saw in a photograph that looked so beautiful. There is such a huge area, we were unable to walk the whole thing. We just took some snaps from the nearby areas. Each and every place was well maintained, groomed, mowed, and there were statues and fountains everywhere. Really, it is a homage to the nature as they had planned earlier. Maria Theresa, the Empress with the 16 children, and the Emperor Franz Joseph and Empress Elizabeth Colisi, they all once lived here. The Emperor Franz Joseph I, one of the most famous of the Habsburg rulers, was born here. Maria Theresa was a ruler of the Habsburg dominions from 1740 until her death in 1780, and the only woman to hold the position of an empress in her own right. That is all because of the training she had from her father, who was a Roman emperor, Charles VI. There are around 1,441 rooms, out of which only 45 can be visited by us. And so many different tours are there. We went to one of them, which was just 1 hour duration. The meaning of this palace is beautiful spring, because it is named after the artesian well from which the court got its water at that time. The palace main building is really a breathtaking 6-story Baroque style, palace with a central dome. And the dome is also surrounded by 4 wings that features a total of 128 windows, so many banquet halls, a dining room, bedroom, kitchen, and meeting halls, music rooms, etc. For entering the palace, we had to buy our tickets and book the time. And this is outside the palace. This is a garden, which is a very huge area. It was very beautiful to look at. We couldn't go through the entire garden because the time was limited and our legs also started aching. After finishing that, we came out and you can see the buses on the road and the beautiful scenic way towards Budapest in Hungary. It was 243 kilometers. Our tour manager told us it would take roughly around 2.5 hours of time. And before we went there, we had excellent dinner at one of the Indian restaurants, and then we proceeded toward Budapest. And the palace which we saw in Vienna, there is the Schonbrunn Palace, was still in our eyes, and we couldn't forget the beautiful rooms and etc. And we only felt sad we couldn't take even one snap because it wasn't allowed there. Now you can watch the scenic drive from Austria towards Hungary. We are going to Budapest, and let us meet from Budapest in my next video. And thank you for watching my travel videos, and I hope I am able to supply some information and make it interesting. I'll be happy we can send your comments to my channel, which will be very helpful. Thank you. Have a nice day.